Well, welcome everybody to our wonderful beeswax. And we are going to do two things today. We're actually going to play bingo about beeswax. So hopefully you'll learn a lot about beeswax. And then we are going to make a beeswax wrap. So hopefully you've picked up your beeswax wrap kit, which should contain a piece of material, and this is called what I call a pre-blend, which I'll go into more later. So we're going to use that later. You should also have received some instructions, which you could get to keep. So today, as I'm doing the demonstration, if you feel like you want to follow along with me, fantastic. If not, this will be available later and you can watch it back and pause it as you go. I am going to be showing 3 different methods today. So you can decide which one you want to try out. But before we do that, we're going to play bingo. This is a fun way to learn. So on your piece of paper, if you can draw up, you'll need 5 squares across and then 5 squares down. 5 squares across and 5 squares down. So if you can set up your sheet like that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to share the screen and we'll get right into, can you help me to share the screen there, Joanne? While she's doing that. So I am Carmel from CMG Honeybee, and I have been beekeeping now for, this is my 9th year of beekeeping. Here we go, sharing the screen. Okay, we're sharing the screen. Oops. No, it's disabled again. We will get there. Yes, so I've been beekeeping for 9 years. I run about 20 hives. I mentor people, which helps with about 50 other hives. And I have very local honey, and I love doing talks and things like that. Here we go. This is what I wanted. Okay, so I want my desktop. And we are going to go into Bee Bingo. Can everybody see that there? And slideshow. And start the slideshow. Play from start. Right. Does that look good for everyone? You can see, excellent. I've got a thumbs up. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Yep. All right, this is how we play Bee Bingo. I do this with our bee club, so we get into really technical stuff. But today we are going to look at beautiful beeswax. Let me get rid of that. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go through and give you a whole lot of different words, and I want you to write them randomly in different squares around your grid that you've got set up. What before I keep going, what I'm offering today as a prize is an extra free beeswax wrap kit. So we're going to take note of who wins today, and you can pick up your spare kit at the Iramu Community Centre. So what I'm going to need you to do, there is a little section called chat, and if you win, you need to write bingo in that chat square, and Joanne is going to keep track of who has won. So I don't know if you can see that, but there's a chat up. It's a little chat symbol. Right, great. Everyone can see that. So yes, once you've got that, you can write bingo in that square. Okay, let's get started. So just randomly, I don't want the first word in the top left corner. I want them written randomly around. So the first word you are going to write is beeswax, and beeswax is used by the bees. They make it out of their own bodies, which we're going to learn soon. It comes in various different shades and colours, and it has been used for many, many years for many, many different things. It actually helps to clean the air when you're burning it, believe it or not. So the first word you're going to write is beeswax in one of those squares somewhere. Now, when the bees make beeswax, they actually need to consume 8 kilos of honey to make 1 kilo of wax. So it burns a lot of energy. And it's actually the younger bees that make the beeswax. So in springtime, when the queen starts laying again, the bees, their first job is as cleaners, their next job is as nurse bees, and then after that, they become construction workers and their wax glands become active and they start to make wax and they burn a lot of energy making the beeswax. So here you can see the glands where those wax flakes come out, and you are going to write 8 flakes in another square. So I hope before you wrote 8 kilos to 1 kilo in a square. Now in another square, you're going to write 8 flakes. And if you have a look here, this is a 1-cent piece. And these are how tiny the wax flakes are. And here, look down at this match head, they are tiny. And they make these flakes and chew them into shape to soften them, and then build the comb that way. They're just amazing. The next word you're going to write is festooning. And festooning is the special name that we give when the bees are building comb. And you can see here, they form these chains. And so right up the top here, I don't know if you can see my arrow pointing, there's a wax flake right being made in there. So this bee will take the wax flake, they'll chew it up, they'll pass it down the chains, and then they use their mouths to put it in place. And they build with absolute precision. It's amazing. In fact, even the angle at which they build the wax is on a very slight angle so that the honey and the babies don't fall out. Okay, the next word you're going to write in a random square is comb. So what the bees are building is honeycomb or comb. And so they use this comb to store their babies. They also use this comb to put their honey and their pollen in. So they use it for storage and for their nursery. And you can see there's 2 different coloured combs here. One of them is brand new comb, and the other one has been used to have babies in it. And I'll explain what happens in a minute, why it gets so dark like that. So the next word you're going to put is cappings. Cappings. Cappings, when we harvest our honey, once the honey is ready, the bees put a cap over the honey. So when we harvest the honey and spin it out of the frames, we take those cappings off. And the cappings is the cleanest wax that you can have when you are extracting wax. The next word you're going to write is melt 65. Melt 65. So as you can see, there is a lot of different coloured wax down the bottom there. And some of this darker wax happens for 2 reasons. One is that there could be pollen in the wax, or it's come from that darker brood comb. Or 2, it's actually gotten too hot. And so the wax can actually burn if it gets too hot. So when you're melting it, it's a good idea to add water or have a double boiler happening so that you don't burn the wax. Okay, the next word you're going to put, or words, is flash point 250 degrees. So beeswax, if it gets too hot, will actually ignite into flames, especially if it has oxygen around. So it has a flash point of 250 degrees, which is why when we are melting it, we want to keep it at fairly low temperatures. The next word you're going to put is melters. Oopsie, going back, melters. So there are various melters that beekeepers can use. There's fancy fandangled ones with different taps for layers of water and sludge and wax. I tend to use a double boiler. This is a solar melter as well. So there are various ways that we can use, melt the wax to extract the wax out of it. Now, cocoons. Now, this is interesting. So think about a chicken's egg. So when you crack a chicken's egg, when you crack it just inside the shell, you might notice that there's an inner membrane. And that inner membrane is actually called the embiotic sac. And so with the bees, when they grow, the queen lays an egg, they go into larvae, and then they turn into a bee. And so these cocoons are basically the embiotic sac that's left over. And with every egg that the queen lays, then there's another one and another one and another one. So this is why after a while, the frames that we use get really dark in the brood area. So the word you're writing there is cocoons. Okay, bloom. Now, you may or may not have noticed sometimes with pure beeswax, you get this white frosting if it's getting a bit old. Now, there's nothing wrong with the wax when that happens. All that simply is that there are different types of oils within the beeswax, and it's actually the finer oils that are coming out to the surface of the beeswax itself. So the beeswax is quite a complex of different chemicals or waxes or oils that the bees produce within their own bodies. And so this is part of the natural process, and it's called bloom. So if you can write bloom in another square somewhere. Right, the next word is hydrophobic. Hydrophobic, so hydro means water, phobic means I don't like it, like a phobia, right? Hydrophobic means it repels water. So beeswax repels water, it won't mix. So here up the top, you can see that the wax actually floats on the top of the water, which makes it really easy for me to melt it and let it solidify, and it gathers itself together. But because of that, it can be used for waterproofing. And the old Dryzabone coats from years ago, I think you could probably still get them. They use beeswax because it's hydrophobic. It repels water and keeps the rain off. Okay, other uses for beeswax. Polish, polishing floors, polishing timbers, polishing shoes. So the next word you're putting is polish. I'm getting maybe a few of you didn't get hydrophobic. So I'm just going to give you time to write that down in your square if you didn't get it. Hydrophobic. Okay, and of course the next word you're going to write down is polish. So again, this is using the principle of that water repelling to help seal various different surfaces. The other things that beeswax is used for, now us beekeepers, we mainly use it for foundation, and so I do that myself. I collect my beeswax together, and I will get foundation rolled out, so I know that my foundation is pure beeswax and I can put it back into my own hives, which is pretty cool. You can also use make crayons out of beeswax, and they're probably much healthier than paraffin wax ones for kids. So if you've got any small kids or grandkids, I would encourage you to look up some beeswax crayons. They are often made with food grade food colouring as well, so a really good safe alternative. Letter seals. Now, this was an old tradition many, many centuries ago. It's still used to this day and can be quite a beautiful thing. They often used to colour the wax, especially if it came from royalty. That was how messages were sent back in those days. So letter seals. Just giving people a chance to catch up. Yes, you are supposed to put crayons in the bingo as well. Crayons, letter seals. Right, moving on to the next word. So yes, we're putting all of these words into the squares. The next word is massage bars. This is a fairly new concept. So the beeswax is mixed with other soft oils and essential oils. And so as you rub them onto the body, the ingredients melt, and then you can use that as a massage bar. So a fairly new concept, but I think it's quite a unique idea. Massage bars. Another item to put into the squares is lubricant. So beeswax can be used to help things slide better, like this drawer. If you've got a drawer that's sticking, or often sometimes if you hammer a nail into wood, the wood itself will split. So by rubbing beeswax onto the nail first, down the shaft of the nail, and then you hammer it in, you're less likely to split the wood. Of course, candles are probably one of the first things that come to mind. And candles, you can melt the wax or pour them into a mold, or you can take the foundation sheets, which I was showing you earlier, and you can roll them into candles. And we're going to do that at another workshop later this week. And as I said before, beeswax candles actually do purify the air when you burn them, and non-ionizing, and obviously were a tradition in the church many centuries ago. Cosmetics, they're used in creams and all sorts of things, hand rubs. So beeswax are a good base to bring some kind of solidity, because a lot of the other ingredients are liquid and oils. So if you want more of a creamy consistency, then the beeswax helps to stabilize that. Non-ionizing. It's like it cleans the air. It takes particles out of the air. If you Google it afterwards, you'll find out. Yeah, I can't think properly how to explain it. But yeah, in short, it pulls harmful particles out of the air. Yes. Okay, the next word, cosmetics, is hair. So, which is a type of cosmetic, but beards and moustaches and slick backs, especially for men. It's being used also in conditioners and treatments. Beeswax gets used as an ingredient in hair products. Also in soap. You can get some beautiful soaps. There's a lot of handmade soaps these days that have beeswax in them. And sometimes beeswax and honey together, which is quite, beeswax, honey and oatmeal would have to be one of my favorites, I think. They bring a moisturizing effect to the skin, and the oatmeal also works as an exfoliant. So it's lovely, beautiful. All right, the next word you're putting into a square is lip balm. And a really easy lip balm is beeswax, coconut oil, and either a therapeutic grade essential oil like peppermint oil, or even some food flavoring. You can put in vanilla or strawberry. It's a very simple way to make lip balm, and many recipes online. The next word you're going to put is beeswax wraps. Beeswax wraps, which obviously we're making today. And I love these because they help to get the plastic out of the environment, and they can be used over and over, and they are biodegradable. And the final word is fire starters. And up here on the left, you will see they are made out of beeswax wraps. So once your beeswax wrap gets too old, you can use them as fire starters or fire lighters. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. Right. We are going to now play bingo. So hopefully everyone has all of their 25 squares filled in. No, we've missed a few words, have we? One word. Oh, I don't know what it is. You know what? When I call it out, you can write it in your square, right? Awesome. Excellent. All right. Let's play, shall we? So again, the first person to get bingo will write bingo in the chat area. And if you get a line across or a line down, or there is a diagonal right down through, there's a cross on either side. Yep. So any of those are acceptable. I am going to read these words out. Hopefully we've all got different sheets and they're not all the same. All right, here we go. The first word you're going to cross off is candles. You can cross off the word candle. The next word you're going to cross off is flashpoint 250. Flashpoint 250. The next word you're going to cross off is massage bars. Massage bars. Okay, and the next word is hair. All those beautiful hair products that we get. Hair. How about we try festooning? Festooning. And another F word. No, not that one. Foundation. You can cross off foundation. How about we try lip balm? Lip balm. The next word is comb, as in honeycomb, comb. All right, now we're going to cross off bloom. Bloom, the white flaky stuff where the oils come out. All right, how are we going? Anyone getting close yet? All right, the next words is 8 flakes, those tiny little flakes that the bees produce, 8 flakes. Beeswax wraps. Oh, we've got a bingo. We've got a bingo. Janine and Chelsea, congratulations. Well done. Well done. We have a bingo. Yay. So you are going to get an extra spare kit. So you will be able to make yourself a second beeswax wrap. All right. So congratulations. Joanne has made note of that. And you will be able to go down to Iramu and pick up that spare kit. So congratulations. Thank you for playing. I hope you all enjoyed that. Did you enjoy that? Yeah, I hope you learned something. Fantastic. So how about we move on to beeswax wraps? Let me talk to you about beeswax wraps. Right. So first of all, I always love a bit of humour and a bit of fun. And I've written a rap for you all. So I hope you want to play with me. I want to get a beat going. So clap, clap, bang, clap, clap, bang, clap, clap, bang, clap, clap, bang. All right, can you all keep that going? Because you're my backbeat, yeah? All right, here we go. I'm going to give you the beeswax wrap. Well, I'm really glad you're here to do the beeswax wrap because the world is full of plastic. It's turning to crap. A better world's attainable as we become sustainable, and you'll be feeling better because your food is staying fresher. Well, I'm really glad you're here to do the beeswax wrap because the world is full of plastic and it's turning to crap. Yay! I hope you enjoyed that. So yes, there is a lot of plastic in the world. We literally now have islands of floating plastic around this planet. And this has happened in my lifetime. Like, I'm just gobsmacked. Now, plastic comes from petrochemicals, and in itself, it's not a bad thing, but it's how we use it and how we have gotten to use it as a throwaway item. Fortunately, they are now developing plastics that are plant-based, which are more sustainable, and plastics which are biodegradable. So the work is being done to change this so we can stop poisoning our planet. But one of the great things about beeswax wraps, let me show you clearly, is here. This was an apple that I cut up. I had a special apple slicer, and it instantly cut the apple into 8 pieces. So I took 4 of the pieces and I wrapped them in good old normal Glad wrap. I've had a container of Glad wrap in my drawer now for 4 years. It's still going. I hardly ever use it at all anymore. And then I took a beeswax wrap here. And so this is the same apple cut up at the same time. And I left it on the kitchen bench for 24 hours. So I didn't refrigerate it. They both sat on the kitchen bench for 24 hours. And as you can see, the beeswax wrap apple is actually whiter still. It hasn't oxidized. So it actually kept the food fresher than wrapping it in Glad wrap. So for me, that was a really powerful experiment, that these beeswax wraps, not only do they help get plastic out of the environment, but they are actually good for our food as well. So I just wanted to share that with you. Now the wax. All right, so this is what I start off with. This is a frame. I've had taken the honey out. And here's another one. This is the darker one where the babies have been, okay? So out of that, we get 2 different coloured waxes. So we will end up with a darker wax and a lighter wax. Now, the wax I use to make more foundation would be the darker wax. And the waxes that I use for my beeswax wraps are the lighter waxes. And this was a block. So half of this block, you've all got a little bit of it holding in your hands today, all right? So this is what I made your pre-blends out of. So this was the wax that I refined just the other day. Now, the other ingredients you'll need. Oh, so here's some flakes. Yep, so that's the cappings. All right, and they make really beautiful beeswax. I do sell beeswax. You can buy beeswax at Bunnings or other places, craft stores. Google it. It's easy to come by. The other ingredients that you'll need, and I do also sell these, is pine rosin. So pine rosin, whoops, there we go. It comes in blocks, or you can crush it into a powder. And so your pre-blend that you have today has beeswax and pine rosin and coconut oil already inside of it. So I tend to use organic coconut oil. And those 3 ingredients go together. Now, I'll show you why I put them together. Oh, now this is another little handy tip. This is just an old, from a paper toweling roll. And I just store my beeswax wraps on that. It makes it easy. All right, so this is a large, and you'll need 3 of these if you want to do a large. A medium, which is great for wrapping up your sandwiches. So you'll need 2 of these if you want a medium. All of these recipes are in the instruction sheet that you got. And then a small. So this is what we'll be dealing with today, is the small ones, 25 centimeters by 25 centimeters. Now I want to show you why I put the 3 ingredients together. And we're going to come down here. All right, I've got my glass here. This first one is just pure beeswax. And if I put it on the glass, it feels quite stiff. I can mold it, but can you see how it kind of expands back out again? All right, it doesn't give that good stick. So that's just pure beeswax. This second one is beeswax and the coconut oil. So it's not as stiff, it's much more flexible. But again, if I put it over the glass, can you see how it doesn't stick to itself? All right, but it gives you the flexibility. Now the third one, this has the beeswax, the pine rosin, and the coconut oil together. And here we go. I'm going to do a little trick here. Let's put some water in here. And I'm going to put this over the top. Now, see how it sticks and stays in place? Now, we've got water in here, right? Look at that. It's actually waterproof. There's no water coming through there. There's no way I would do that with the other two wraps. So I hope that demonstrates to you why I choose to put the 3 ingredients together. It just works so much better. Okay, when we're making the beeswax wraps, as I said, I'm going to show you 3 different methods today, but there's a few little tips. You want the material to be 100% cotton. So if you've got any old sheets or pillowcases, an old cotton shirt or skirt or something, great, recycle, that's fantastic. Cotton poplin is what you've got in the kit today. And muslin is also another one you can use, but it's much thinner, but the weave is a lot bigger. So you have to be very careful when you're putting the wax on there to make sure that you've coated it all. Now, a couple of little tips and things to watch. Let me see if I can show you here. Aha, here we go. All right, I don't know if you can see here. There, see that it's a bit lumpy. See that lump there? So you don't want to end up with lumps like that. You want a nice even coating all the way through. And this one here, see those lighter spots? That's actually missed out on beeswax. So holding it up to the light and having a look through helps you to make sure that you've got good coverage. Okay, so they're just some little tips while we're making the wraps today. So what I'm going to do, I've got my phone set up. You've probably noticed there's another Carmel Gerdson there. T-shirts, I think because of the stretch, they have a synthetic in it, and anything that's synthetic is going to melt under the heat. So I wouldn't recommend T-shirts. A normal business shirt, just read the label, make sure that it's 100% cotton, okay? Anything that's stretchy is going to have elastic in it. So that is some form of synthetic that's going to melt under heat, all right? Now, just bear with me. I'm going to disappear for a moment, and I'm going to come back on my other device. We're going to do a demonstration, and then when I come back, we're going to come back to here because I've got a few more things to share you. So I'll see you in my other. Okay. Can you hear me? Joanne, do you want to swap over to me, the other me being the speaker? Yeah.
That'll be a trick.
Isn't this good? We're all learning new stuff. I love it. I love it.
Now, I think you have to give back like the control to me. So, or
how do I do that? I didn't give you control in the first place.
No, I gave you control.
Oh, okay.
So
All right. Bear with us, folks. We're going to get this. Okay, so now we're going to go into the live demonstration. Now, there's a few things I forgot to mention. When you're cutting up your material, you can get a bit of fraying. So these are the scissors that you want to use, are pinking shears. I don't know if you can see the teeth on there. So cutting the wrap with pinking shears is going to give you a much better edge and stop it from fraying. I'm going to need some material to make these. Give me a sec. Okay, now let's talk about melting. Melting's really important. You need to keep safe. And I'm just going to get the microwave going. So when I melt, as I said before, the wax can overheat. It's got a flash point. So using water is always a good idea. If you want to do it in your microwave, adding some water. What I've got here is a double boiler. So I have a bowl with water in it and a bowl with my wax in the top. So if you want to do it that way, it's going to take a good 5 minutes to do that though, okay? Another way is to do it in a saucepan. So you've got a saucepan, you put a bit of water in the bottom and then another saucepan on the top. Or if you've got a saucepan with a nice heavy copper base on it, as long as that's nice and heavy, you can melt it gently over a very low heat. Because if you melt the pre-wet blend over too much heat, this is what happens. It will burn. It goes dark. And I keep this as an example. And the other thing I threw out, which I wish I hadn't, was I was heating wax in the microwave one day and I didn't have the water underneath it and the bowl literally cracked. And I wished I'd kept that as a sample to show you, because the wax, it really gets hot. So just be cautious with it. All right, so let's do this. You want, if you're going to do the brush method, either with the iron or in the oven, you're going to want a pastry brush. It will become ruined, so just use that for your wax from now on. You can grate the pre-blends, but I find with the pre-blends it's quite sticky. So I think the melt and brushing method is the easiest way to go. I'm going to just turn this around so you can see better. What, I missed that comment then. What was that comment, Joanne? Right. You can all see the bench. Let's have a look at our molds. So if you want to make your pre-blends, you could use various molds to do that. I do find that smaller amounts are better. So these small blends, one of them is good for the small, 2 of them for the medium, and 3 of them if you want to make a large one. If you want to make a small, a medium, and a large, then this muffin tray works really well. That's about 100 grams. And so you can have that on, you can pre-make them, have them on hand, and you've always got them. And you can melt just a little bit at a time. Otherwise, the mini muffin trays, this is what I have actually made your melts out of today. So one of those, not quite full to the top, is about 16 to 18 grams, and it's perfect for a small wrap. So that's how, and the silicone, it really works better. It's so much easier to pop them out once they're done. So that's the molds. All right, I think, how's our wax going? I'm just trying to melt the wax here. I've got it going in the microwave. So if you want to do the oven method, you're going to want to have your tin and then some baking paper. And you're going to want to put your wrap onto the baking paper. So baking paper is your friend, non-stick baking paper. It can be used over and over and over again, okay? It works quite well. All right, let's have a look here at how okay. Now this is a few that I've put in here together, so I've got a bit more. It's not quite melted, but it will do. So I'm just going to re-soften this brush. And while I'm doing this, you're going to preheat. Obviously, you're going to need to preheat. I mean, you're going to need to have the oven at 150 degrees so that it keeps the wax. All right, so I've got wax on my brush now, and I'm just going to distribute it around. This method actually takes up quite a bit of wax. So as you can see, it starts to cool down as soon as I brush it on. So once we get through all of this, you'll understand why I prefer to use the sandwich maker as my preferred method. So I'm just brushing that all around there. Trying to distribute it as evenly as possible. All right, that's looking pretty good. All right, so we're going to pop that into the oven. And it'll remelt the wax and keep it hot. So you want to just keep, bring it out, give it another brush, put it back in, bring it out, give it another brush, put it back in. So it does take a while, and I do find that it is a bit more difficult to distribute the wax itself. So I'm actually going to do this on microwave. Let's see if that speeds things up. So you can see the rest of that wax has melted in its own heat while it's been sitting there. So that's pretty cool that it's done that. I guess the other thing you could do is well, we're going to do a brush on, and we're going to use the iron. It's going to be the next one. All right, let's have a look here. Okay, so now I can see, you can see where it's soaked through, and obviously using the microwave doesn't work. I love that this is live because we can learn as we go together. So using the oven is important because the microwave has made that too hot there, and it hasn't distributed it evenly. So I can go through and fix up any other bits that we've done or that I've missed. But as you can see, if I had a beautifully warm oven, which I'm going to try again, because I've got 10 minutes. Let's go there. Obviously, my microwave and my oven are the same thing, so that's a bit tricky. All right, I'm going to put it back into the oven. Let's give that another minute in the oven. While we're doing that, I'm going to move on to the ironing version of it. All right, so I'm just creating a little ironing board here. Now, with this is my ironing board, all right, we're pretending that's the ironing board. Again, you're going to get some of your wax-proof paper. And here's one I did a little bit earlier. You put your material down, and this is where you could grate, if you wanted to grate, and sprinkle all that around. But as I said, you can see it gets a bit sticky on the grater. So my preferred method, again, is to pre-melt it and brush it on. So I'm just, again, going to try and distribute this as evenly as possible. Brushing around. It's amazing how quickly it starts to cool. Get rid of that little black bit there. And down the side. All right, once you feel like you've pretty much covered it, then you put another piece of paper over the top. And with your iron set on, I would have it set between cotton and wool. You can now use your iron to just push the wax and you want to make sure that you've, so see here, it's still a bit light. So obviously I need to push the wax. You want to be covering. But again, with this method, you're going to lose a bit of wax on the paper itself. So, whoops, and I've got some on my towel, my poor old ironing board. Obviously, if you were going to do a big one, then that's going to add extra complications. Now, before it dries completely, you want to pull this one off. There we go. And then peel it back. It's going to be a little bit warm. You give it a little wave, and then this you would put over the clothes horse to dry. Now you can see I have missed a couple of little corners or edges, so I would go back in and redo those. So we would just hang that now over the clothes horse to dry. So that's a fairly quick and easy method, but as I said, you are going to lose a few bits of wax on the paper, but if you're doing quite a few of them, then I guess you can mop them up with time. All right, how's our oven one going? Here's our oven one. It's looking a little bit better, but I think this one probably takes a little bit longer to get right as far as distribution goes. So that's the oven one. All right, now let me get set up and we are going to do my preferred method, which is with my, hold on, just turned itself off. So this is with a sandwich maker, and because this is all food grade, you can still use your sandwich maker as a sandwich maker afterwards. So it's not going to matter. It's going to still be okay to use afterwards. So yeah, here's this one here. You can see we haven't captured yet enough wax on there. So I think the oven method is probably the most difficult one to get right. My preferred method is the sandwich press. So I'm just waiting for that to heat up. And with this, you can have it already pre-melted in a pot and ladle it straight onto the hot plate. Or as you've got today, you've got your little pre-blend. And you also want a little bit of paper toweling. Or another bit of material behind to capture any drips that drop down from behind. There we go. I'm just going to tuck that in there. Great. I'm going to open that right up. Oops. There we go. The joys of doing stuff live that you would normally do face to face. Okay, here we go. I'm putting the pre-blend. Don't worry about the smoking. That's okay. You're probably going to want a set of tongs for this as well. All right, just to keep your fingers safe. You can melt the melt straight onto the hot plate. And this is really quick and easy to clean up with paper toweling once you're done. As I said, I find this method so much easier than all the others. And this is how I do the ones that I have for sale. All right, obviously this is a little bit smaller, so I'm going to fold this in half. It'll fit nicely folded in half. Just waiting for this to finish melting. There we go. We're going to place our material directly onto the hot plate. Close the lid. You won't need very long. Open the lid up. Then you want to grab this with the tongs and hold it up to the light a little bit to see if it's all nicely covered. If it's not, now I'm going to have excess because this material did already have some wax on it. This is the one I did in the oven. But if you've got fresh, plain, new material, then it should soak up pretty much all of the wax that you had on this hot plate. If you feel it hasn't covered enough, put it back on the hot plate, bring it down, and just squash it again for another couple of seconds. It really doesn't take very long at all.
Carmel, Paula
Yes.
asked, could you use a frying pan?
Could I use a frying pan?
Yep.
Yes, you definitely could use a frying pan. That's a brilliant idea. Absolutely brilliant. One of those square electrical ones. Totally.
I'm not sure which one, but yeah. So
you would just need to see how I'm using the tongs to flip it over. You might just want to do that. Then I just let it drip. And then I want to give it a few shakes so that the dripping stops. And then I'm going to hang that over on my clothes horse, which you can't see behind me, but you get the picture. The one we did earlier is already dry. Just a little tip though, when you are hanging it, don't hang it so that these join together because they will stick together and you won't get them off the clothes hanger very well. So when you hang it over like a couple of bars so that it's a bit wider so those edges don't touch each other. So this is the one that I did under the iron. It's done, it's ready to go. Well, except for the edges I missed. Oh, I've got spare here. If this starts smoking, turn it off. It will retain the heat and you can keep doing a few more wraps on it. So there we go. I just made use of that excess. That's all nicely covered now.
Carmel, would you put the baking paper on your clothes horse before you put the beeswax wrap on, or is it sort of semi-dried by the time you hang it?
Yeah, it's semi-dry and I don't, but I think that's actually a very good idea. And I might actually start doing that and try that. So the one that I did is done. It's ready to go. And our beeswax wrap is finished. So it really only takes about a minute to dry, which is fantastic, quick and easy. And as you can see, it's a really nice, consistent covering on both sides. So I really do prefer this method using the sandwich maker. Now, clean up. As you can see, we got a few drips down the back, and I will need to clean up the bench. Putting the baking paper on the bench or some a plastic sheeting, if you've got one hanging around, like a big bag or something. I know we're all kind of collecting plastic bags now and using them for other things. To protect the bench, you can do that. But just clean up is quick and easy while it's still hot. Just give it a wipe down. You could even do this with a bit of material so that you've got a bit of wax on ready to go so it doesn't go to waste. And then that is clean. If you wanted to then put a little bit of detergent and give it another wipe, you can. The next sandwich you make in it may be a little bit waxy tasting, but as I said, it's all food grade and it's all biodegradable. But that sandwich maker is now ready to go and clean, and we can use that again next time. Okay.
Carmel, Pam asked, can you purchase the prepared beeswax from you, or do they need to make it up themselves?
Yeah, so I do have the pre-blends available. They are available on my website. You can buy the small ones or you can buy the big ones. So I do make the pre-blends with the all ingredients in together. If you want to buy just beeswax, and you may not want to use pine rosin, or if you want to buy the pine rosin from me and you may be a vegan and not want to use bee wax, there is another type of wax that you can use instead. Or you might want to not add the pine rosin and just make pure beeswax ones. There's no real right or wrong way here. This is just the way that I prefer to do them. But yes, you can buy the pre-blends from me. Absolutely. Yep. Any other questions there? No, that was all clear and easy. Yeah. Excellent. Right. Here we go. What is the blend quantities? Okay, so that recipe sheet that you got given actually has the quantities there. But from memory, yep, I've got it. So let's say I had 100 grams of beeswax. I would put in 50 grams of pine rosin and 10 grams of the coconut oil. So for one of these, and this is why I like to do the pre-blends, is this has 10 grams of wax, 5 grams of pine rosin, and only 1 gram of coconut oil. So as you can appreciate, measuring out 1 gram of coconut oil and trying to spread that around by itself, if you wanted to keep all the ingredients separate, would be quite difficult. So that's why I like to make the pre-blend beforehand, which, as I said, you can make them yourself or buy them from me. Yeah. Any other questions?
Someone asked, could you use olive oil instead of coconut oil?
I think the reason why they use coconut oil is it has a very high flash point. And it also has antibacterial properties in its own right. I know that olive oil can be quite smelly and can go a bit rancid after a while. So I don't know if it has the longevity. The other oil that is quite popular that gets used is jojoba oil. So if you can get a cosmetic grade jojoba oil, which you can get at chemists and other, craft places if you Google it. So coconut oil or jojoba oil are the 2 main oils that I've seen used in beeswax wraps. Any other questions?
I think that might be it.
That's it. All right. Yeah. So I'm going to disappear from here and I'm going to go back to the other station because we are now going to use our beeswax wrap. If you didn't make one and are going to make it later, that's fine. If you can grab yourself a piece of paper, I'm going to show you, I call it wrapagami. I'm going to show you how you can make some little pockets out of these beeswax. So I'm just going to transfer back to the other one. Here I am.
In progress.
I'm back. Right, here we go. Let's do some wrapagami. So on your information sheet, which you got, there we go, you'll see these little different ways that you can use the beeswax wraps. I have provided a YouTube web link there. So again, if you want to watch them and pause them and learn the different ways, you can do that. But I'm going to just show you the envelope, which I find quite useful. What's that? We're making ours with the sandwich. To do is fold it on the diagonal and make a triangle. Now you can do this with a piece of paper. So if you are doing this with a piece of paper, the easiest way to make a square is to go like that right to the edge, and see this bit here, you can just fold that in. So if you're pretending that this is a beeswax wrap, you can use this instead for now, okay? You'll still get the same result. All right, so we've formed our triangle. Now, this length along the bottom here, you can't see the point, can you? There we go, that's better, right. This long length along the bottom here, we're going to do 2 folds. So evenly 1, 2, 3. So we're dividing it into thirds. So this one we're going to fold across, and this one we're going to fold across. And as you push it down, you'll find it sticking nicely. All right, then you're going to take one of these, relift it, and in here, see how that splits open? We're just going to tuck this right down into that bottom. So they're all lining up along that bottom crease there. All right. Now this top pointy bit, you should now be able to open that up and put your hand inside. So you've now created a little pocket or envelope. All right, and in there, we can put strawberries or blueberries or biscuits or cut carrot or whatever little snacks you want. With the medium beeswax wrap, so this is the bigger one. This is about 35 centimeters. This one is perfect for sandwiches for school lunches. So to seal up this, we've got our little snack inside. I'm going to now fold this down so that this point meets the little V there. And then I'm going to see this bit here. I'm going to fold it over again and press. So I've left myself this little tail. All right, can you see that? So once we press that down, now we've sealed it and our little snacks are inside. To open it, you just grab that tab and pull, and it'll come undone. And then you can grab your little snacks from inside. Okay, so that's very simple. That's the envelope, which I like to use a lot. I use that all the time when I'm on the go. These will last for quite a long time as far as caring for them goes. Once they've been used, if you want to just give them a wipe down with a damp cloth, and then rinse them under cold water, let them air dry on your draining rack. If they're a bit grotty, you can put like 1 drop of dishwashing detergent and give it a good smear around and then rinse it off. You're wanting to use cool or cold water on these because obviously with the wax, any hot water is going to melt the wax out of them and they're not going to last as long. It does help maybe if you've used them a lot and they're losing their sticky, if you put it back in the oven or back under the iron or back under the sandwich maker for a couple of seconds, that seems to revamp them again. And if you find that it really is using it sticky, then you can grab yourself one of your pre-blends that you've got on hand, or you might have had a little bit left over that you've kept, and you can just top up the coating within the material. Obviously, if they're getting very, very tired, then you can use them for fire starters. But the beauty of these is that they are 100% biodegradable. So you can put them in your compost or put them in your rubbish bin, knowing that they will break down. And they are not going to leave any plastics in the environment. So there you go. I hope that's helpful. As far as using beeswax wraps, any last questions?
Joanne asked, can you use bamboo?
Bamboo. Oh, bamboo material. I don't know. That's a good question. If it's nice and thin and it doesn't have any other polyester in it, because bamboo is a natural fiber, I guess it would work. I can't see why not. Experiment and see. There are, this is a fairly new fiber, so I don't know a lot about it, and you've got me curious now. I'd probably like to try it myself, because bamboo is a very renewable resource, and growing cotton isn't so good for the environment. Oh, I would like to point out, though, that this particular cotton that you got today is actually organic cotton. So I took the time to make sure that you've got food grade materials on here, and this cotton was grown organically. So hopefully that's a bit better for the environment as well. Any other questions? How long does it take to dry? About a minute, not very long at all. As I said, you can watch back this video later and pause it and take your time to do it when you're ready. So any other questions?
I think that's it for today. Thank you so much, Carmel.
Can I just share my screen one more time?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen one more time. You're going to have to let me share that. I hope you all found it useful. It's saying you've disabled the sharing again. Technology, don't you love it? Here we go. Yay. I've got a white screen. View options side by side. No. Still disabled, sorry. I've never been the host or doing the job that Joanne's doing. So, yay, brilliant, awesome, excellent. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. Right, now. And I want to say, Joanne and Iramu Community Centre, I am so damn grateful that we made this happen today, because during the winter time, I don't do my mentoring. and my talks and stuff like this is mainly how I bring in income plus some of my honey sales. So I'm so damn grateful that I got this opportunity today to be able to put this onto Zoom and still share this with you. So what I want to share with you is if you Google search CMG Honeybee, my web address will come up there, and there's my shop. So if you go into there, and if any of you do want to buy some honey or the pre-blends, you've got the shop up there, or if you scroll down, there's all my products are along there. Okay, you can click on any one of those and buy whatever. But if I go back a little bit, I would humbly like to ask, see here over on the right-hand side, you can see the Google review, the Google of where to find me for CMG Honeybee. Now, if you have found today's workshop helpful and you enjoyed it, you may not have, that's cool too. But if you found it helpful and enjoyable, Google reviews, if you want to take the time to say a few words, I would really appreciate that. Because as I said, this is all I do. And I just want to get the word out there. I'm passionate about the environment. I'm passionate about our bees, and I just, you know, want to do what I love so I can help sustain myself as well. So yeah, thanks for letting me share that. And Joanne, do you want to go through the other workshops that we've got coming up for people as well?